Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anais, and throughout my life I had a hard time following the rules. So I can't help it. It's stronger than myself. It must be something in my DNA. We all have trouble following the rules. We like to bend them though, and to make our own interpretation. So I did the same today. So normally tags are done on a Tuesday. I do them on a Wednesday. Sorry. But hey, Aaron Pfeijffer was so kind to tag me to do the body tag created by Brandon at Brandon Bookshelf. And when I saw all those body parts, I thought, I broke them all. So, yeah, follow my train of thought. So, I've been in a hospital quite a few times, and because of my ADHD, I can be very distracted, and that causes accidents. So let's start with prompt number 1, the brain. I had twice a concussion, and I remember that during one of those concussions, or in that period, I was reading the book Erich Maria Remarque, or Remarque, Erich Maria Remarque, All Quiet on the Western Front. This is the Dutch version, but there's also, of course, an English version. This is the account of a German soldier during the First World War. So it's very interesting to read also what the German soldiers went through, the other side of the story. And he talks about saying that it wasn't heroic, it wasn't an adventure, because facing death isn't an adventure. There's nothing heroic about it. There's nothing adventurous about it. It's horrible. And he talks about the mental impact of war on a soldier. It is, in fact, a sort of counterpart of Johnny's Got His Gun on the American side of the war. All Quiet on the Western Front was a German book, of course, and it was banned in the 30s by the Nazis because they found it demoralizing, and that wasn't a thing, a German. It was actually more treated as treason. So this book was banned and burned, of course. All Quiet on the Western Front. It's an absolute must-read. If you like reading about the war, All Quiet on the Western Front. Then, the mouth, voice. Well, as from the age of 15, 16, I had a lot of anginas, and then not long after that, my tonsils were taken out. And during that time, I was reading Rita Mae Brown's Rubyfruit Jungle. This is a coming-of-age story about a woman or a girl who survives in the city. She comes to terms with her own sexuality, and this is an amazing story of growing up and surviving in a city where you don't know anybody. I can remember that she lived in a car for a while, and that she did some odd things, and then she started to write, and now she is a very well-known author, of course. It's worth your while to read. Then the heart feeling. Well, I had I had a lot of stuff, but I had an infection on my heart muscle, and during that time I was reading La Superba by Ilja Leonard Pfeijffer. He is one of my favorite authors, Dutch authors. This is also translated into English. It is an amazing story about somebody who has immigrated. Well, it's his story. He immigrated from the Netherlands to Genova, and it's called La Superba, and it's about his encounters with the local people and his love of the city. Or his love for the city. It is amazing. I love that book. It's weird, but it's amazing. I love that book. Ilja Leonard Pfeijffer, La Superba. Then what else? Oh yeah, I broke my arm. This one, and I vividly remembering reading this book. I broke my arm together with my best friend. We were playing a game, something like the floor is lava, and we both fell. We jumped on something and it rolled further and we fell over. She broke her left arm, I broke my right arm. And I can still see her sitting in the ER. Both with her arm. It happens. But at that time I was reading, this is not translated, but still. This is called The Larf by Midas Dekkers. Midas Dekkers is a Dutch author. He writes mostly nonfiction. It's about how children grow up, and he compares them to larfs, larfs that pop up to either a moth or a butterfly. And he was so, especially women with little children were so offended by the thought of comparing the little beautiful babies to larfs. Well, I enjoy this read. It's written with so much humor, but not everybody gets humor, that's for sure. Then, I also broke my elbow. I did that at home. This one. I broke my elbow 8 years ago. 7 years ago. It was while my mother was rushed to the hospital, and I was so in shock that I fell over. Well, I fainted a bit, and I broke my elbow, and my mother died 6 weeks after. So yeah, that was not a fun period, but I had one book that made me laugh a little, and that was this one, Timur Vermes, Look Who's Back. It's translated, ist wieder was the original title. I really enjoyed this book. I don't think it has aged well. I haven't reread it. It's about, I haven't seen it on BookTube yet, but then again, I haven't Googled it. What was it? 2011, yeah. Suddenly, the real Adolf Hitler re-emerges, and from where he was buried, and he's in his, he dusts off his uniform and he starts walking around, and he sees all degenerates, people of all kinds of color, and punks, and people with pink hair, and people with piercings and tattoos, and he is really surprised of what happened to his country, and then people look at him, what is that? And they start laughing with him, and they say, you can't walk like Adolf Hitler, that's illegal. And so why is it illegal? And then he discovers the internet and social media. And there are some really, really fun moments where he wants to make an email address with his name, but no provider wants to accept that name. Not Adolf Hitler, not Adolf H, not A Hitler, or whatever. He couldn't make an email address with his own name, and then he gets interviewed by TV stations, and more people start to follow him again. And actually, this book is about the dangers of social media and how quickly people can forget things and re-believe something that wasn't true before, and they know it wasn't true before. This is the power of this book. I really enjoyed it. I don't know if it still holds up. I think so. I haven't reread it because it, on one side, it made me laugh a bit, but also it makes me think about my mom too much. But there, that was Look Who's Back. And then, what's the next? Stomach, prompt 6. At the time I was 13, from 13 on, I had twice a year ulcers. And they didn't go away. And when I was 14, I remember sitting in the waiting room to have my first gastroscopy. That's the word, gastroscopy. And I was really nervous, and I remember reading this book, The Man in the Iron Mask by Alexandre Dumas. I've had at least 8 gastroscopics afterwards. Now I don't have ulcers anymore, luckily. It's been 4 or 5 years, so yeah, it has disappeared. The Man in the Iron Mask is the last of the 3 Musketeer stories. They are a lot older, and there's a lot of strain on their friendship, their relationships amongst each other, and there's people think that what was it, Louis XIV thought that he would undermine the power of France and the French monarchy, and I believe they wanted to know who was the man with the iron mask that was locked away, if he was the real Dauphin or not, the real young Louis XIV, or something like that. It's a long time since I've read it. I'm going to reread it this month, I think, for my Doorstopper Doom, which is going fine, by the way. I will do a video Friday, I think. So yeah, this one. I clearly remember reading this in that waiting room. Oh, that was so much fun. Then, the groin. Luckily, I have never had any problems with my groin area, but I do remember a book that I read when I was like 13, 14 that made a lot of changes in my groin area. And that was The Venus of Delta by Anais. That's also an author that I never hear talking about on BookTube, or I haven't noticed it. That's possible. I cannot watch everything, of course. But Anais was, of course, the lover of Henry Miller, hence the movie and the book Henry and June. But Anais Miller wrote erotica, but from a very, very high literary level. It is really worthwhile reading. It really is. She was a brilliant author, but she wrote erotica, but her literary level, she's often quoted in books in the front, where writers think they have to put a quote, a very intelligent quote, and it's often by Anais. It's really worth your while to read some of her books or her work. It's mostly short stories and her diary, which can be disturbing. Anais Nin was an amazing story, and that was my first encounter with erotic fiction. The hands, oh, I broke all my fingers multiple times. And I vividly remember reading Waiting for the Barbarians by Coetzee with this finger in a big iron thing. Waiting for the Barbarians is about, of course, by my beloved Coetzee. I've read a lot of Coetzee. I haven't read him lately anymore. I will pick up again. There's no reason for not reading him anymore. But Coetzee is one of my favorite authors, and this one is also a very good book. This is about an old magistrate, and he works in a little village for a very long time, and everything goes well. It's on the border of the empire. Which empire? I don't know. I think it's the English Empire. It doesn't matter. And outside the border lives, just on the other side of the village, live the barbarians, a people that is not difficult at all. It's easy to live with. He has a very great rapport with those people, never bothered anyone. And then certainly the empire decides that the barbarians are evil and he has to act upon them. And the more and more he struggles with his conscience and his mandate. And he rebels against it. And this is the story of Waiting for the Barbarians. It's an amazing story. It's really good. Coetzee. John Maxwell. Coetzee. Then, Lex. Oh, yeah. So, I had a really dark period around 2010. I fell with my back on a marble staircase, and it took a very long time before they found me because I was at home alone, and my then partner only came home late, so I lied there for 8 hours, and that was the beginning of the end of everything. I lost my house, I lost my relationship, I lost everything I worked for, I lost my career at the time, and during that period I was in extreme pain because the nerve of my back was hurt, and it took me a couple of years many years actually, to recover from that. And during that period, let's say 4 years, I wasn't able to read anything. It was impossible. And I remember it was that period, 2010, 2011, that I was on Flickr. And there was a guy named John Malouf. So I was following him since 2008, I believe. I can be wrong. And suddenly he posted a whole lot of pictures he found in a garage sale. Or it was a unit that was sold, and because of somebody didn't pay the storage anymore, and he found nothing but boxes of pictures and picture rolls. And that was Vivian Maier. Vivian Maier is known as the nanny, and she was a great photographer, an amazing photographer. I have her picture. That's Vivian. This is not a very good book. I have a better book. Somebody has it now. Vivian was a nanny who took thousands and thousands and thousands of pictures. Didn't have the money, and didn't have the money and didn't knew the right people to become famous. So you have to have a printer, a printer that makes your pictures better. In those days, it was the printer who did that. Now it's Photoshop, but then it was the printer. And if you don't have any knowledge of photography, she was she learned everything herself by herself, and she worked as a nanny. So she didn't know the right people, and a lot of people say, well, she didn't want them printed, those film rolls, but no, it wasn't that. She really wanted them printed, but she didn't know somebody who could do that well. And it was also costly, and she didn't have any money. The first time I could travel a little, heavily sedated, was in 2012. And I traveled to Paris, and I went straight to Paris Photo, which is now way too popular. I used to go there when it still was under Le Louvre, and that was amazing. This one was the first time it was in the new location, and I bought a picture of her there. I still have it, and it will stay with me forever, because Vivian Maier is for me the sign of my resurrection. Let's call it like that. It is worth checking her out. Her pictures are beautiful, are emotional, are magnificent. And her story too. It's very, very sad, but hey, there you go. And then the foot, well, I broke my ankle and I broke all my toes a couple of times. And I remember when I broke my ankle that when I was resting, I was reading these because it hurt a lot. And for that, short stories were best. And for me, the best short story writer ever is Ernest Hemingway. That was his forte. He is the best short story writer ever. Yeah, it was. I didn't like his novels, not very much, but his short stories, ooh, those are good. Those are good. Rita, you will learn a lot about writing. So yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. My take on the prompts of the body tag. I'm pretty sure that Lindy from Lindy's Magpie Reads will do just an amazing job with this tag than all the others. And I also tag Eleonore from the Real Property, because I don't see her often enough. And I really want to see more of her content because I love it. She talks about poetry mostly, but in such a way that you learn a lot. Links are down below. Thank you for watching. Oh yeah, and Brian from Bookish. I promised I would tag him. So there you go. I wish him all the best, and I hope to see him again next weekend or next week. And I hope to see you guys again in the next video. Bye-bye.